A disturbing new analysis has revealed that Australia's horrific housing market is likely to continue, with tenants facing severe pain and a shortage of available homes expected to last for years. There's no denying that this is a difficult time for thousands of Australian families living in various parts of the country. As a matter of fact, so many people could be homeless if they don't get affordable housing options soon. Before we critically look at this situation, it's important for us to acknowledge the fact that's the only way we can assess the crisis and maybe find a possible way forward. Now, the National Housing Finance and Investment Corporation revealed that by 2027, there will be a 106,000 housing deficit in Australia. This can be attributed to the rising interest rates, increased immigration, a lack of construction, and community hostility to development. It's been predicted that within 5 years, Brisbane alone would lack more than 12,300 dwellings. Sydney, on the other hand, will lack more than 10,000. And let's not forget that this number is merely a prediction. It could be worse if nothing is done to resolve the housing crisis. With less than 1% of rental vacancies, a crumbling construction industry, and skyrocketing expenses, Australia is already facing appalling housing conditions. Although about 28,000 homes should have been built to tackle this challenge, inclement weather has greatly affected the construction. Now, let's look at the main issue that almost everyone is facing as a result of this housing crisis. It is now extremely difficult for families to save money for a home. The budgeting strategies used by many young Australians to try to save for a deposit are increasingly insignificant these days due to the rapidly rising cost of living, uncertain modern work contracts, stagnant salary rates, and rapidly rising housing prices. According to experts, the chance of owning a home has increased significantly depending on one's parents because government policies in Australia changed from assisting individuals in becoming homeowners to supporting property ownership for those who are already wealthy. This implies that the personal lives and financial plans of parents who own a property are now being disturbed. Researchers have also revealed that parents who own a home are increasingly required to offer additional forms of help. We're getting to understand that younger generations, including those with high incomes, are staying in their families' homes longer and returning more frequently than previous generations, living there either for free or paying board. If this is the case, what would happen to people's retirement plans? This is one of the questions we must ask ourselves as we look at this situation. It has been observed that a growing proportion of older workers are delaying retirement due to increased mortgage debt for those who have managed to become homeowners. There are serious financial difficulties associated with this. Let's look at a quick hypothetical example. Imagine you bought a home using a mortgage plan. This means until you completely pay down the loan, you don't have full ownership of the apartment. So you are working hard to make your mortgage payments. But it's becoming quite difficult to clear the entire balance because the price of the home has increased. In a bid to pay off your mortgage completely, you would spend several years working tirelessly. But the main issue here is that you won't retire early. Instead of building a retirement fund, a large part of your income would be put toward paying down the mortgage. Now that's pathetic. Currently, there is a growing chorus of people saying that just building more homes would solve these issues. This point of view contends that the lack of new supply is the reason why housing costs are higher. They contend that planning and land use regulations impose restrictions on new construction, making the development process more risky and expensive. Others argue that simplistic supply-side narratives miss the demand-side elements driving the global inflation of housing prices, such as government incentives to promote real estate investment or low-cost financing resulting from bank deregulation. They draw attention to the political clout of real estate business associations, which work to keep up the demand for housing while pushing for laxer laws. Some go so far as to warn that comprehensive rezoning reforms will cause lower-class people to be displaced by waves of gentrification and reconstruction. Restrictive development rules and land use zones have historically served as roadblocks to the construction of new, diversified housing developments. Referred to as exclusionary zoning, restricted single-family zones, for example, continue to forbid apartments and multi-unit homes in many parts of the United States. This is also happening in other countries. Local communities frequently fight developments they believe are out of character with their neighborhood and oppose modifications to these regulations. Will building more houses fix this issue? We don't have a certain answer for this, since the real estate market is very volatile and sometimes unpredictable. The demand for housing, including rental properties, is surging, yet the rate of building approvals and commencements is slumping. In Sydney, however, the government is narrowing down a list of about 20 sites where it can build homes densely and quickly. The Niswar government is considering a shakeup of state-owned corporation Landcom to focus on building homes instead of selling off land to developers. The government has given Landcom the ability to self-approve proposals for affordable housing projects up to 75 dwellings. On the other hand, a counter-movement known as Yes in My Backyard, YIMBY, has gained traction in recent years, especially in North America. YIMBYS contends that even the construction of upscale homes would increase market-wide affordability. This is due to the fact that those with high incomes will likely relocate into better quality housing, freeing up available units to migrate down the market. Nevertheless, there is conflicting data to back up this filtering. A general rise in housing units hasn't increased affordability at the bottom of the market in nations like Australia, despite evidence in some other countries suggesting that additional rental supply can stabilize and even lower local rents. This can be due to the fact that wealthy individuals buy second houses for vacations or the short-term rental market, or it could be that the new housing supply is not concentrated in the areas where there is the most demand. Only if new supply is more affordable than existing houses on the market, and a good alternative for moving households, will it help to calm prices. For example, the construction of new flats near the periphery of the city will not affect the value of homes in the inner ring suburbs, where job possibilities are more readily available. For very low-income earners to have access to affordable housing, government funding is required. The market is unable to provide suitable housing for low-income earners because of the minimal cost of building, which includes land expenses, physical construction costs, and the profit needed to assume the risk. The difference between the capital expenses of new development and what target groups are able to pay can be funded by governments. They may guarantee that future buildings contain affordable housing by exerting pressure on the planning system. Many US communities employ inclusionary zoning laws to provide inexpensive housing, but in England, the planning system generates a sizable amount of the nation's new affordable supply. Governments increase total supply, even in weaker market conditions, by subsidizing the production of affordable housing and helping developers get land or form partnerships with private providers. In Australia, governments have been hesitant to mandate affordable housing as a component of new developments, despite a number of regulatory measures aimed at promoting a diversified and new supply of housing. Therefore, even though there has been a significant increase in the number of new homes being built, particularly multi-unit housing, there is still a severe scarcity of low-income housing that is both accessible and cheap. The issues surrounding housing affordability have multiple roots and should be customized to the specifics of each community. Rather than just encouraging property investment, governments should focus subsidies on achieving affordable supply outcomes and regulate rental providers to safeguard tenants from unjust evictions, rent increases, and subpar housing. In cities where supply restrictions continue, one of the solutions might be to remove regulatory barriers to the creation of new and diversified housing. However, further approaches are required to address the lack of reasonably priced housing. Hopefully, as many researchers and experts have predicted that the housing crisis in Australia could get worse, we expect that families can have access to more houses in the coming years. We also have to believe and trust that the government won't let this situation get out of hand. Well, that brings us to the end of this issue for now. As more updates roll in, be certain that we will keep you posted. However, don't forget to hit the subscribe button to make sure that happens, and we'll see you soon.